Going on, everybody? This is JD Jugs, the Book of Clarity. You guys haven't seen me in a long while, so when I came back, I had to make sure that it was an absolute banger. I got my boy V Jones from Liquor Talk. How are you doing today? Thank you for coming on the show.
No problem, man. No problem, man. You always showing love. You're a regular on the men's only round, so I had to come through to help you out, man.
So what I wanted to do today, it's almost the end of the year. Everybody's gearing up for Christmas, going out of town, buying gifts, wearing their red pajamas, got their ugly sweaters on. Maybe not so much in Florida because it's a little bit cool outside, relatively speaking. But what I want to do is I want to do an overview. As you know, as everyone knows who watches my show, I am very interested and deeply passionate about political subjects, specifically in the state of Florida. Now, what's funny is that as I was preparing for this show, it boggled my mind. The things I was looking up, no videos on YouTube, very few things to find on Google search. I had to really dig deep to find a lot of this information. And I just sit here and I wonder why it was so tough to find these things. Be that as it may, we got some things we want to do. Today is grading DeSantis. That's right. Your favorite is governor, Vic. Your favorite is governor, Ron DeSantis. We'll just be going over a few things today because we could spend a 6 hour show going through everything. But we're just going to go over some major points. All right. So, one of the first things I wanted to discuss when it comes to Governor Ron DeSantis, let's talk about the biggest issue, Vic. How them rent prices?
Through the roof. It's like through the roof, like everything else. Everything is just skyrocketed. Everything's just
Right.
through the roof.
So my thing is this, right? Within Florida, the Tampa, St. Pete Metro, and the West Palm Beach, Broward, and Miami metros have the worst inflation in the country, according to CNN Business. So we're talking about for St. Pete, Tampa, Clearwater, 7.3% inflation, more
Shit.
than double the national average, right? Hold on, we're not done. Miami, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach area, we're looking at 4%. 4%. So the reason why I'm bringing these stats up is this. People are feeling this. There are hundreds of thousands of people moving out of Florida because they simply can no longer afford it. And I think the average rent in Tampa is like $2,500 right now. That's most people's combined checks for the entire month. That's just rent. And if you talk about housing, not only are the houses expensive, but the insurance is expensive. As you guys know, I'm an agent. We sell policies all the time, $9,000, $10,000. So Vic, what grade from an A to an F for Governor DeSantis' administration? What grade would you give for rent prices?
For rent prices, I have to give it an F because when Rick when Rick Scott was in office, I know this ain't any better. When Rick Scott was in office, I mean, at least we could afford it. You know what I'm saying? I know
Yeah.
that's not a good amount because they both are bad, but at least when Scott was in office, we could afford it. Now that DeSantis done took over,
Hmm.
thank you all those hillbilly counties, outside of the counties you pass through driving on 75 or 95 that are
Yeah.
not going towards
The
Orlando,
Boondocks.
Miami, or Jacksonville, and even Tallahassee. Actually, Tallahassee went blue, you know what I'm saying? Because, the college students held it down, but,
Right. So my question to you is this: do you see it changing anytime soon? Do you see rent prices somehow going back down?
the only way I can see it going down is if it's just a market crash because you see that in the house market, you see that in the car market. You just need a
Yeah.
big ass crash to happen. That's
To
what we would
reset everything? Yeah.
yeah, where everything just crashes. And also we gotta get the people out of there who have the racist, the racist
Yeah.
that's what was also giving the effect as well, because I don't know if you, I think you saw, I think we talked about it, but Navy Federal, what I'm saying, if Navy Federal
Yeah.
thinks like that, imagine what all the other banks are thinking like that in private though.
Correct. And so, what to speak to what Vic is saying, redlining is still a huge issue. We talked about Navy Federal Credit Union. I think that the approval rate on apples to apples comparison was in the 70 percentile, like 73, 74% for whites. And then for blacks, it was like 36%, specifically with the credit union known as Navy Federal. And just for everybody to know, Navy Federal is the largest credit union in the country. So they affect a lot of people's lives because the number one builder of wealth still is being able to purchase a house. That's usually your
Hmm.
average person's biggest investment in their lifetime. Of course, you get a 401k, you might jump in the stock market, you might start a business for some people, but having a house is the one of the most important aspects of becoming an adult, saying I'm here, being able to control that high, that's usually it's supposed to be your highest price, and if you're not able to get approved, if you have a high credit score, if you saved up all of this liquid down payment money, which is so hard, especially, what I'm saying, here in Florida, I think that the administration and even bigger extension, the House, the Senate, they're simply not doing a good enough job to find a way to keep the regulation of corporate interest down so that the average person has somewhere to live. Now, guys, we're just talking about housing. There's a whole bunch of other stuff on this list that we're supposed to get to in this short period of time. Okay, so I also have to give, Governor DeSantis an absolute F when it comes to housing because people are coming down. Businesses are now able to buy up entire neighborhoods, subdivisions, and so more for them, and it's less for the average person who simply just wants to buy a house. You know what I'm saying? So that's definitely a major issue. Now, another major issue. Now, Vic, do you remember last year when Fort Lauderdale, was it last year? I think it was last year, earlier this year, where Fort Lauderdale was flooding.
Yeah, I
Even at the
sure remember.
airport, Fort Lauderdale was flooding. Now, I noted that at the time, politically speaking, right, your governor and your state administration, in conjunction with FEMA, should be coming in, providing aid, making sure people are taken care of, making sure it's a concise process. Because the emergency situation, I want you to take a wild guess, Vic. I want you to guess where Governor DeSantis was when Fort Lauderdale was flooded. Take a wild guess,
He was on a presidential campaign. He was out there trying to campaign. He was on a presidential campaign. And I'm like, are
bro.
you serious right now? What kind of this is the whole country can see Fort Lauderdale is flooded. The damn airport is flooded, man. What the hell are you doing out here on this presidential campaign? And you're like, they are seeing this. They're looking at how you run in Florida, and now they can only imagine what would he do as president. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like money, they say money makes you better, but money only strengthens your worst habits. You know what I'm saying? So if money can do that, what about a higher? You can put somebody in a position, but if we're looking at your track record, they don't change. So why would we vote for you president if you're allowing Fort Lauderdale Airport of all places to get flooded? Don't you know there's tourists that probably got to come through there? There's locals
Yep.
that come through there, man. You're missing out on money by this being flooded.
And I want to just point out to people, right, that during the flooding that was happening in Fort Lauderdale, I believe that Governor DeSantis was across the country in another state. I believe he was in Wisconsin, if I'm not mistaken. I may be wrong on that. He was in Wisconsin on an unofficial presidential tour. And when asked, he said, well, I'm not officially running for president, so we'll see. Number one, why are you going to other states on Florida taxpayer money?
Thank
Were you using your own money, sir? No, you were using Florida taxpayer money to travel to other states. That's not what we elected you, or some people elected you to do. We elected you to be the head administrator of the great state of Florida. Why were you over there? I also found out, Big, check this out. Because I'll ask you where he was. We'll take a wild goose chase, right? This man flew to Japan while Fort Lauderdale was flooded and said he was going to get us help that never came.
What the hell
So
you doing
people
in Japan?
exactly. So while he was over there, touching shoulders with important people, Fort Lauderdale was flooded. Now they asked the mayor of Fort Lauderdale at the time, they asked the mayor of Fort Lauderdale, has he heard from Governor DeSantis? Said, I'm sure he'll be reaching out to me soon.
You know what this sounds like, bro? This sounds like another Hurricane Katrina situation. That's what it sounds like to me because I remember the mayor of New Orleans, he didn't hear from the Louisiana officials or the president or nothing like that. So it sounds like, and also the bigger thing is, it also sounds like people that had insurance down there on properties and stuff, they probably cash out them insurances and rebuilt the property, you know what I'm saying, and then jack up the rent prices. That's what
And
it sounds
just and while we've been talking, Big, I just did a quick research, right? I just did a quick research right here. Check this out. According to Pew polls, which are very accurate when it comes to political races, right? It says that Trump is 52% for Republicans, for the main Republican nominee, okay, for president. DeSantis is at 14%.
like. Damn.
You cannot win a presidential race at 14%. So you mean to tell me you wasted taxpayer money? You wasted taxpayer money going over here, going over there, not doing your job for what? 14%?
And you didn't even tell them the best part that Colorado outright said we taking Trump off the ballot. So I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Like,
Listen, this guy wants to move further right. He wants to move further extreme than Trump with his policies. And I'm just looking at this like when it comes to natural disasters, he should be on the ground. He should be making sure everybody has a place to stay. He should be making sure every family has food in their belly. He should be making sure. Now, the average person gonna ask me, well, why would I care? Let me tell you the reason why I care. It's because when I get my paycheck, when I get my hard-earned paycheck, I'm not giving out all these taxes, my property taxes, my sales tax, for him to be doing a presidential campaign when he's the governor of this state. You do that on your own time and your own money, not on Floridians' dime.
exactly. And also, it also costs to drive on these damn roads. It's like, I know I'm paying the sun pass and stuff, but goddamn, it's like you paying, charging the hell out of us to drive on these roads and stuff.
Listen, some of these roles they're working on for 5, 6 years. That's too long. When you go to other states, hell, when you go to other countries, even the so-called developing countries, they're getting stuff done. They're doing monorails, public transportation. They're building up large skyscrapers in a fraction of the time. So why is it taking us so long to do it? And it can only be because the elected officials at the local level aren't doing their job.
You know,
Okay.
this sounds like this reminds me of what's going on in Mississippi. You know what I'm saying? Because Mississippi has always been behind on everything on infrastructure and stuff. You know why? It's because of the elected officials that are being voted in by not people that aren't in the urban areas. The people in the urban areas are handling business. It's the non-urban areas that keeping states back. You know what I'm saying?
So when it comes to the Fort Lauderdale flood, grading Governor DeSantis, I give him a big fat F minus. Vic,
Can you go lower than F minus?
we'll give him a P for participation, even though you really didn't participate. Okay, so now you guys know how passionate I am about the Black community. You guys know how much I care about being active, volunteering, teaching, advocating for our needs. So don't think I forgot about y'all. Check out this next point that I have for today's special, Grading DeSantis. Check this out. Now, remember 2020? Who can forget the pandemic? And even worse for African Americans in this country, we had to deal with the death of George Floyd, among others, because he was not the only person by a long shot. But it was what's in the mainstream news that everybody, the companies, everybody knew about. We had to remember the death of our dear brother George Floyd. Now, as a retaliation to that, Vic, Governor DeSantis created At the time in 2021, from 2020 to 2021, HB1, House Bill 1, which was canceling the, it was canceling or being, I shouldn't say cancel, I should say taking away the ability of peaceful protest. You can no longer protest in front of politicians' houses because apparently it's too dangerous. But this was a direct result of all the protests that happened during George Floyd. Now, I want everybody to know that by doing this, DeSantis and the Florida legislature, who developed the bill, is violating your amendment rights. I believe it's the First Amendment, the first, the first big. So now you cannot protest peacefully in the state of Florida anymore. What do you think about this?
I think they are insecure, and I think they need to do their job so that way people don't have to protest. Well, maybe if you did your fucking jobs, excuse my expression, I apologize, but you're not the only one that's passionate and fed up over here. But if you did your jobs, nobody would have to protest. So, you know what I'm saying? You got to know, you got to understand that you got to have thick skin to be in politics because no matter what you do, you're going to be criticized. And this sounds like a legislature that just can't handle criticism. And like, if you can't handle criticism, then go find a job, go be a analyst on Fox News or something, you know?
And we have to do an honorary mention about removing Black history
Oh
from the
Lord.
public school system. Now, he did that as a way to generate attention, but yet and still, you look in your average textbook now for kids in middle school and high school, they might have 10 pages on African American history. Now you want to remove it altogether for semantics? Listen, you got to get another F. For
Yeah.
me, it's another F.
You know what?
Again,
Yeah. I hate
go
to,
ahead,
I'm
go ahead.
sorry to cut you off, but it just don't make sense. It baffles me that this is a super F right here, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, and shout out to the black churches and the black, of course, the HBCUs that said, F this, we're going to teach you anyway, because this reeks of insecurity. Like, you did it. Your ancestors messed up the country for a lot of us. Just take accountability and move
Correct.
forward. How hard is that? But that tells me your insecurity and this white privilege, you know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
White privilege is where you can we can just, this some BS,
And I want to just point out to everyone the fact that it is important to vote. Now, you have a lot of pundits, you have a lot of people giving their opinions and saying Black people should skip out on voting because the people that have been elected in office on the Republican side and the Democrat side haven't been giving us our just due. But I want to explain something to you. The people that impact your life the most, city commissioners, city council, mayor, these three distinctions and elected officials at a local level have a lot to do with how your community is being administrated. And I would encourage every single person that is 18 years of age or older, our ancestors bled and died to get us the ability to vote. The reason why they had to work so hard to vote and why some people want to take it away is because it's important. Why do you think mega corporations have lobbyists and bribery and corruption? It's because politics matters. Vic, have you been voting? I gotta ask you, as one of my close friends, have you been able to vote in the last couple local elections at all?
Yes, and like I said, I've been able to make it to the couple of elections, and I've definitely voted, did my part. The only thing I gotta do now is just I gotta update my voter registration card. But yeah, I've been voting like when I can, I've been making it to little churches or the libraries and stuff. And sometimes I've had to stand. I remember one year I had to stand in line at the damn courthouse because I early voted.
Yeah.
So I make sure to do my part.
And for those of you wondering, the churches that Vic was mentioning, there is a website called faithinflorida.org. Again, faithinflorida.org, which is a large coalition of black churches throughout the state of Florida that has a teaching curriculum to teach Black history to their congregations. Again, that's faithinflorida.org, and a lot of community centers as well, community activists and advocates are also adopting this around the state. So there's always the answer when our elected officials who we pay their salary are not doing what they need to do. Okay, Vic, final topic for the night. Final topic. I must ask you, if Governor DeSantis had the opportunity to become U.S. president, would you vote for him?
If I didn't, I hate to tell. They say you don't tell. You're not supposed to tell who you voted for, right? But you're asking. I've never voted Republican in my life. As
Uh,
as it would be to vote for Trump again, but you realize Trump only benefited off of the policies Obama put in place. So,
yeah,
having said all that, it's like it's a no for me. And also, I look at how he ran Florida, and I look at the things Biden is trying to put into place, the things Biden may be doing that nobody's really talking about that might get the country back on in the right way. He might try to undermine everything instead of just going with the flow on some things like Trump was trying to do.
yeah. And for me, it's absolute no. I understand that at the national level for federal Congress and for presidential races, it's very complex with the electoral college plus the popular vote. It's very nuanced, and there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes with the ultra wealthy and people running the country. I completely understand that. Be that as it may, your vote still matters because Trump has come out and said, Vic, that he will consider being a dictator if he is reelected to public office. And I believe that somebody who does not respect the rule of law, because that's what you are, is the head lawmaker, the head decision maker, that if you can't respect the rule of law that's already been written, we absolutely do not need you to be president in capacity. And that goes for DeSantis too, because from threatening former state employees on COVID numbers, trying to delete Black history, and everything else that we mentioned in this short episode today. You guys, I think that you could do the research for yourself. I mentioned some statistics, but overall, I just think that Governor DeSantis has absolutely, positively failed, 98% of Floridians. It's just not even close to being a joke. And I didn't even get to mention what he did with the abortion ban. When we do part two, we'll take a deep dive into that. But we have run out of time for tonight. Vic, please tell everyone your social media handles. How can they reach you?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to reach me, it's either Real V Jones on Twitter and Instagram, and Liquor Talk Podcast also on Instagram as well. Also, if you want to check out Liquor Talk, you want to check out the current episode where me and Juggy held it down for the rest of the fellas for Christmas. That episode is up on YouTube right now. It's everywhere on our Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and also we're going to be doing some live streams on Twitch as well. So check us out. We're taking over for the 24.
Hey, appreciate that, man. I appreciate you coming on for this episode today. Again, this is only the beginning of a great thing. I believe there's a revolution coming. I believe that we can galvanize all the communities in Florida, all the working people of Florida together in order to make change and make our state a great place to live in again. I am JD Jugs. This is the Book of Clarity. Thank you, everyone, for watching today. You can listen to this on YouTube at Book of Clarity, at TikTok at Book of Clarity, and on Instagram, Book of Clarity. Just search that. You can always DM me any topics that you want to do. I'll be more than happy to explore them so that we can see how we can make politics relevant again for all of us. For V Jones, for myself, this is the Book of Clarity, grading DeSantis. Well, I'll let y'all later. Have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.